Hey everyone, welcome to your restorative practice. Today we're going to spend a lot of time in some belly down shapes. And so for things like this, what I'd recommend having are a stack of blankets and pillows. And, it might, when I say stack, it might mean like, okay, maybe you don't have a lot of extra throw pillows around the house, grab some towels. So just something that's going to provide a little padding for the knees and maybe the ankles. And in terms of pillows, couch cushions, throw pillows, pillows from your bed that can lift up the chest and the belly and the pelvis if needed. So thinking about kind of like padding the front part of the body, providing a little lift. And so before we get into any kind of intense shapes, because some of them might feel intense, they might not. So don't get too attached to the intensity. Before we head there, I'll offer up spending some time in child's pose. And you can always use support in your child's pose too. Like you could take some pillows underneath the belly and the pelvis and the chest here. You could straddle a pillow, especially if if the mobility of the ankle, the knee, and the hips is a little bit less than what you'd like it to be. Add some props underneath the pelvis. And you can start to lay your belly down on your props. You can slide a prop underneath your forehead. You could always, one of my favorite ways to take child's pose is to just bend the elbows and place the hands underneath the forehead. So it's like I'm making a little pillow with the backs of my hands. So either your choice, knees can be wide, knees can be together. Toes could be tucked under if you want to work on opening up the soles of the feet, if you want to give the sole of the foot a little stretch. But the top of the feet can also be flat. This is really an invitation for you to play around with what works and just ditch what does not work in your practice. I'll just take about a minute here. See if you can start to breathe into the belly. Maybe breathe a little bit slower. That might mean you take more time to inhale and more time to exhale. When I say more time, I don't necessarily mean a lot of extra time. Could just be a matter of an extra second, an extra beat or two. You don't have to go crazy with it. And we'll take about 5 more breaths here in our first shape. If you're able to, can you start to breathe in through the nose, maybe out through the nose? You can also breathe out through the mouth, but see if you can get some air coming in and out through the nose. Could also be a combination of those two. And also just noticing the tendency of the breath to breathe through the mouth. If that's kind of an unconscious habit, can you start to think about making some more conscious nasal breathing happen? And that's something, by the way, I'd recommend taking with you throughout your days. Just checking in. Am I breathing through my mouth? Can I breathe through my nose? All right, let's come forward in a tabletop shape. Maybe a few rounds of cat-cow here. And we'll set up for our first shape. And this is where those, you might want those blankets on either side of the knees, off to the side, especially if you, like me, have a hard surface of a floor. You can choose to keep a pillow or two underneath the belly and the pelvis. This is going to be a lot of external rotation with the knees. So we're going to do it one side at a time. And take your time playing with this, how you want to get into it. And once you start to get a sense of where we're going, don't feel like you have to stay with your first choice. If you're feeling like, wow, that's really intense, back out, add some more props underneath the body, and then settle back in. That's always my recommendation, by the way. So just stretching the legs out behind you and just coming first onto the belly. You can kind of like hang out in a Sphinx position for a few moments. Just get a sense of the front of the legs lengthening. And then we're going to start by taking the right knee off to the side, kind of like a half goal pose shape or half frog. And then you can start to walk the arms forward. You might even look down at that right knee, see if it's in line with the hip, kind of like the target area. It doesn't have to be there. It could also be like a face down tree pose. But so if you can play with this ankle, it could be right underneath the knee, like a half goal post, or you could think of it like a 90-degree angle, like you would see on a chair, or that half tree pose, which is more triangular. So play with that rotation, see where it feels best to rest the ankle. I'm gonna try for that half goal pose shape. And I'm gonna relax into this. Okay, so a couple options here to just lay the head down, the forehead down on the backs of the hands, just like we were experimenting with in child's pose. And again, if this is a lot on that inner knee, this is why I'm suggesting padding the inner knee with a blanket. And if it's too much, adding a prop underneath the pelvis so that your knee doesn't have so far to rotate. Like you would decrease the angle by placing something underneath the belly and the pelvis. Okay, so just being mindful of your choice there and either choosing to stay with this. I give you one option here to add on a little bit of rotation of the shoulders. So if you want to explore that with me, the way that we would do that would be to walk up onto the elbows like you're in Sphinx in your upper body. Okay. And wiggle those left fingertips a little bit more forward. You're just making space underneath that left armpit. You can thread that right arm underneath. It's just like you would thread the needle with the arms. Now this can be a lot on that shoulder, so if it gets to be too much, remember, come out of it. Now with my left hand, I'm making a little fist. I'm resting my head on that fist. And I'm reaching my right arm all the way underneath my left armpit, across and beyond the mat. That's a really intense stretch for me, for the outside of my right shoulder. Notice where you're feeling this, if you're taking that twist, if it's too much, like if you're shaking, if your muscles are shaking, if you're not really breathing deep, if it's too hard to relax here, just back out of that. You don't need it. We don't want our restorative practice to be counterproductive. Whatever your shape looks like, notice how you feel. So target areas, inner right thigh. Okay. And then maybe if we're adding on that twist, we're targeting upper outer right shoulder. And then with a breath, deep belly breaths. I'm going to be here for about one more minute.
especially if you have that rotation in the shoulders. You don't want to hold it too long. Shoulder tissue tends to be a little bit more, I guess I would say, delicate's not really the right word, but I'm going to use it for now for lack of a better one. It's just more superficial. Like hips, we have more tissue to get through. There's just more meat around the hips. So longer holds in the hips are typically okay. We want to spend a little bit less time on the tissue of the shoulder. So if you're finding that rotation, that thread the needle with that right arm. Let's take 3 more breaths there. And then upper body unwinds. Just take a moment, pause, come back through center. You can do whatever you want with your arms, just as long as there's not a lot of sensation happening in the shoulders. So again, you could stack the hands underneath the forehead, elbows can go wide. You could take the elbows wide like a goalpost shape and turn the head to one side for a little passive stretch to the side of the neck. And we'll spend about 5 more breaths here in this half frog or half goalpost position with our right leg. And then nice and slow, gentle, extend your right leg long behind you. Just come to either a belly down position with the legs in a very neutral position, or you can press up and back to a child's pose. We're just going to take a minute here before we transition to the second side. So even though you know we're going to do the second side, can you take a minute in between to just pause? Try not to be in a hurry, try not to be in a rush. All right, and then let's start to set up for the second side. So you might, I think it's helpful, at least it is for me, to come up onto my elbows in a sphinx-like position. And then I'm going to pull my left knee out to the side, get that blanket in the right spot so I'm padding the inner left knee joint. If I'm using that pillow underneath my pelvis and my belly, adjust it so it still feels relatively even and it's supportive. Hang out here for a few moments. See if you need any extra support. And then maybe you start to just settle straight on down to the belly. You can stack the hands underneath the forehead. Just take a few moments here before we add on the arms, or the option to add on the arms. Just say about 3 deep breaths. Just give your hips some time to settle into this shape. Let's take one more breath here. Good, and then you can stay right here like this. That might be plenty. It might even be too much, and if it's too much, you know what to do. Add more props underneath the belly so that you're decreasing that angle of external rotation on that inner left thigh. If you want to add the rotation with that left arm threading underneath the right armpit, come up onto the forearms, wiggle that right hand forward a little bit so you're making space underneath the right armpit, threading that left arm underneath. And then I like to make a little fist with my right hand so I can rest my forehead on the hand. And that way my head doesn't have so far to go. I'm not straining my neck to get into this position, so I'm supporting the head. Takes just a little bit of weight off that left shoulder. And certainly adding more props underneath the rib cage, underneath the belly and the pelvis would too. If you really feel gung-ho about adding that, thread the needle. And then just paying attention to how much is too much and honoring that in your body. And then eventually we'll settle in, finding that stillness. See where you can let go of gripping, tension. You find that deep belly breath. We'll be on this rotation of the shoulder for about 1 more minute. So if that's you, if you're with me, if 1 minute feels like way too long, back out sooner. If 1 minute sounds like a good idea and you're starting to relax into this, continue to breathe deep into the belly. For those of you that are finding thread the needle with the upper left arm, take 3 more breaths. If you're threading the needle with the upper arm, really carefully unwind that. And then find something neutral. So maybe it's that goalpost shape with the upper body. You can turn your head in the opposite direction. A little passive stretch to the side of the neck might be nice. You can also fold your hands underneath your forehead, keep the neck neutral. And let's take 3 more breaths here. And then start to slowly, maybe you come up onto the elbows, just lift the chest a little bit to extend that left leg back behind you. Spend a few moments either here just laying on your belly, or you can press up and back to a child's pose. All right, so now for our next shape and heading towards Shavasana, not quite yet, but in preparation for Shavasana, we're going to come on to our backs. We're going to do something with our legs that isn't necessarily for any sort of flexibility or particular sensation, but rather for the nervous system, because this is a restorative class. So we are targeting turning on the parasympathetic nervous system. So I want you to think about supporting your body, grabbing those extra blankets and pillows. As you watch me set this up here, I'm going to come onto my back. I'm getting a little padding underneath the back of my head. And like I was sitting crisscross applesauce in a chair, I'm just going to cross my right shin in front of my left shin. So I'm not looking to stack the ankles or anything. I'm not looking for anything super, super intense in my hips, but rather it's like I was sitting up cross-legged, right, on the floor. And then I'm just laying on back like that. Right shin in front of left shin. Keep it loose. And then sliding props underneath the outer thighs so that there's not a lot of tension on the hips. Okay. So this one is for the parasympathetic nervous system. Rest and digest, telling your body you're safe. We're creating a closed chain so the body is like in contact and the energy is circulating throughout the body. Maybe you place your hands somewhere on the front of the body, like the pelvis, the low belly, the rib cage. See if you can start to breathe into where you've placed your hands if they're on the body. Rolling the shoulders down underneath the back. Maybe close the eyes here. Eventually we will cross the opposite shin in front, so can you just stick with finding this stillness in your little cross-legged shape as you lie back. As many props as you need underneath the outer thighs and knees. I don't want you to worry so much about what this one looks like at all. You don't have to look like me in terms of your cross-legged seat or with your legs, but rather supporting your body so that if you were sitting in a cross-legged position, your hips could relax, your knees could relax, your ankles could relax, your feet could let go, relax. And then we just practice relaxing. Even relaxation can be challenging. So if you find this hard, sometimes it just takes practice. Continue to come back to the breath. We're going to unwind the legs here and take a moment to either plant the feet on your mat. You could knock your knees side to side. You could hug your knees into your chest and take happy baby. You could stretch your legs out long. And just take a few moments in something that's kind of neutral. And then we will take that left shin, cross it in front of the right shin. Let the knees fall open. Give yourself the support you need underneath those outer thighs as you settle into this shape. Again, go through that kind of like a checklist from the top of the head down to the toes. Where can you relax? Where can you soften in? What kind of props do you need to add or adjust to let yourself feel held here and supported? Reconnecting the hands to the body somewhere if they've moved. Settling back into the breath.
Got a little bit less than a minute here. Practicing those deep belly breaths. The practice of relaxation. The practice of being kind and compassionate and giving yourself the support you need. That's what this is for. And it's really the practice of accepting yourself for where you are in this moment right now. It's not the practice of judging or telling yourself you should be able to do something or trying to look a certain way while doing something. No, this is the practice of meeting yourself where you are, letting yourself be exactly as you need to be. Let's start to gently unfold the legs. Take your time with that. I did start off by mentioning we're not really seeking a lot of sensation, but it can be intense. So if it's intense for you, that's okay too. Just notice. Take it slow on your exit. Take something neutral in between. Stretch the legs out. Come to happy baby if you like. Our next shape will be Shavasana, and you know you can take that in any way you want. Legs can go up the wall. You can come to a seated meditation. You can just stretch your legs out long, giving yourself any propping. And then starting to settle into that place of stillness as you're ready for it. Maybe closing down the eyes one more time. Take a deep breath in through the nose. And then a deep breath out through the mouth. Just to tell the jaw to relax, let the back teeth part, tongue widen at the base of the mouth. Let the whole jaw relax, let it go, let it rest. Shavasana. If you have more time to spare in your day, please feel free to stay longer in your Shavasana. If you need to move on, just start to awaken through your fingertips and your toes. Maybe move your head side to side a few times. Eventually bending the knees, rolling off to a side. Pressing to an upright seat. We'll just take a few moments to close out our practice here. If you're still with me and you're coming to that seat, support it. Let it be comfortable and supported. Again, regardless of how it looks. The hands can rest face down on top of the thighs, shoulders soften down the back, chin parallel with the floor. Deep breath in, grow tall through the spine. Deep breath out, settle into your seat. Again, inhaling, growing tall. Exhale, settle. 2 more rounds of breath, this time placing one hand on the belly, one hand on the heart. Breathe into the hands. Exhale. One more time, breathe into the hands. And then as you exhale, both hands may just stack right on top of the heart, bowing the chin into the chest, taking a moment here to honor your effort and your practice with reverence and gratitude. To all of our teachers, past, present, future, and to the teacher within your own heart, namaste, yogis. Well, I hope you enjoyed your practice. Thank you so much for being here with me today. My name is Tessa. You already probably know that, but just in case, if you ever want to reach out with any questions, comments, or suggestions, requests, my email address is tessa@tessatovar.com, and Tovar is with a V as in Victor, A-R. And I hope you have a wonderful day. Please take care of yourselves. Take it slow and easy after restorative practice. Hydrate, eat good, nourishing food, and come back again soon. Thanks so much.